You've heard of hands-on housing in Austin, Texas. It's been around for a while. It's hands-on ministry through Austin Metropolitan Ministries. It's our subject for Austin Faith Dialogue today. Please join us.
Austin Faith Dialogue, at the crossroads of religion and life. A series highlighting the cultural and social interactions between the worshiping and religious communities in and around the capital city. Austin Faith Dialogue is brought to you by the Austin Metropolitan Ministries in cooperation with KXAN. Join us now in Austin Faith Dialogue.
Hello, I'm Richard Thompson of Austin Metropolitan Ministries, welcoming you to this edition of the show. Well, you've heard of hands-on experience in the workplace. You've heard on hands-on ministry in the religious community. But it's hands-on housing that's the experience and the work of Austin Metropolitan Ministries, a very important one that's been going on for some years now. And today we're going to be having the privilege of meeting folks who can tell us about this work, and we begin with Beth Seward, who is the caregiver for hands-on housing for the caregivers, I guess is your complete title. We welcome John Schutzenberg, who is the chair of hands-on housing.
Thank you.
And we welcome Tony Hall, who is with the Austin Police Department as neighborhood liaison.
Correct.
Now, folks, I have to say, it's great to have you here, number one. And number two, to tell us about the fact that this is really one of the most creative programs, I think, that AMM has done since its beginning. In fact, it kind of goes back to its beginning, doesn't it, Beth?
It does. It was begun in November of 1989 as a collaborative effort between Pat Flood, who's the executive director of Austin Metropolitan Ministries, and Rod Coleman, who's a pastor over at Shepherd of the Hills Christian Church.
Okay. 89 it started.
Mm-hmm.
And since that time, in the last 9 years, how many houses have been rehabbed?
We've rehabbed almost 500 homes using about 7,000 volunteers.
Mm-hmm.
Our last event was this spring where we rehabilitated 50 homes in a weekend using 1,200 volunteers.
Well, you know, those are statistics.
Mm-hmm.
But what we're going to look for are some stories that go with that and to give it the human touch. John, you're here to give us the human touch. You're the chair of this organization. Tell
Yes.
us about that.
Well, the human touch. I think one of the things that hands-on housing has to offer, of course, is relationship building. You mentioned the fact that we do build homes. Well, we also build relationships. And there is a partnership, I would say, between the client who owns the home and the volunteers who come to do the housing rehab. Very colorful characters that I can think of in my experience. I've been with Hands-on Housing 3 years. This past event, Julia Montoya, who lives in the Guadalupe neighborhood, who Tony knows very well, has lived in Austin since 1922, I believe, is it not? That many years, and a lifelong resident. And we were able to come out and put a new roof on her home. Of course, the people who had helped her were, we had a Methodist group, I believe, at that home, and like many other projects, their efforts between different congregations who come together to work. Methodist, Catholic, Protestant denominations, Catholic denominations.
So it's ecumenical, and you also have people who are not connected to religious communities.
Well, I'd say it's an interfaith effort. We did have Barsana Dam.
Okay.
Was involved in sponsoring a home this last event.
And Tony, you've working with the Austin Police Department. How did you happen to get connected with this particular enterprise?
Well, as I work in the East Austin neighborhood, trying to build neighborhoods and empower neighborhoods, as Hands-on Housing came over to work several years ago when I got involved with them, I saw the good work that they were doing, but my connection was to put them in contact with neighborhood associations, that they can empower neighborhood associations, and that people will know that you can go through the neighborhood association and get things done.
I see.
So this is just a great resource for the community to have Hands-on Housing come in to repair houses in the neighborhood. It helps the city also taken off some of the pressure of them rehabbing a lot of houses and helping those people in need of repair.
Yeah. These are people who live in homes. Usually they own the homes. I mean, almost
Yes.
all
They
the time
own
they
them.
own
They
them.
have to be home.
But they don't have the money to rehab it themselves.
That's right.
And without this volunteer effort, these homes would become more and more run down.
Right.
And with the volunteer effort, then it improves the value of their property and their living style of living and so on. But is this something that have you seen make a difference? I mean, as far as these individuals that you've known, apart from the statistics, can you just think of the differences that it's made for the recipients of the program?
A lot of the work we do is roofing, and so in that respect, it makes a lot of difference for the homeowners that their roofs aren't leaking anymore. They're not having water run into their kitchen. Or if we repair broken windows. We have homeowners whose homes get broken into because their houses aren't secure. So we're able to go in and help them by putting locks on the doors or fixing windows or fixing doors so that they're not going to be broken into anymore. And that makes a big difference in the life of a homeowner. And there's also just the pride, I think, of getting your house fixed up. A coat of paint can do a lot to make a house more livable because there's a new sense of pride in your home.
So it's more than just keeping the rain out. It's keeping the spirits up of
Right,
the folks who
right.
are there. Yeah. And then the benefit that comes to the recipients that you've been talking about, I think, is matched probably by the benefit that comes to those who volunteer. Is that, am I assuming that correctly?
I think you're right on the money there. A lot of the volunteers, I think, would express that, you know, it's easy to give, this day and age, to give your money if you're capable of doing that. But one of the rare commodities that we have is our time. And we choose how we spend our time. And when a volunteer makes a commitment to go out and do repair, substantial repair on a home, I think they're being involved in a process that's being involved with another person's life. You know, you take somebody who's from north, east, west, south Austin, and you get them together with somebody that they wouldn't normally meet in, you know, in their everyday occurrence, and you have this interaction that can take place. So for the volunteer, yes, I would say that there's a great reward being involved in this program, and that's about, once again, building relationships, I think.
Meeting people that they wouldn't meet otherwise, and working together as a team, maybe with people from other churches, and
Right.
meeting new people that way as
Right.
well.
Collaborative efforts. You know, I was involved, let's see, it would have been 1996. We were involved with 2 interfaith groups and a business group, a banking group in town. And, you know, once again, how would we have ever come across one another in a weekend?
Yeah.
But for, you know, such an event that Hands-On Housing is.
Well, now, Tony, let's talk about the benefits that you see. I mean, Beth and John have indicated some that they've seen.
Well, I think the biggest thing is the empowering and getting together with the neighborhood groups to not only identify homes, but also to have the homeowners work together, some of the residents to work together to put on the luncheon that we have, to bring all the volunteers together for the luncheon. That was, I think, one of the biggest that we've had this year, the 2 luncheons at 2 different sites in Blackshear and then one in Guadalupe this year. That connection, and then people in the neighborhood, by word of mouth, knowing that, get in touch with your neighborhood association because they know resources that are out there to get things done. And that can't but help the East Austin neighborhood pull together and have a stronger, solid neighborhood to work
Yeah.
through.
You know, so often neighborhood organizations are, I mean, they're helpful. They can make some information available or have speakers or whatever, but for them to become as active and with it resulting in the improvement of the vicinity, I think maybe what you said before brought that to mind.
Yes, yeah, that's very helpful. As from repair on homes to having paint and tools and lawnmowers and things, all these things the neighborhood association can function to serve the residents in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
So it's, and
Now,
that's it.
you've been working with the group how long again?
With Hands on Housing, I guess since '91 is when they start coming into the neighborhood, and I started attaching myself to
Okay.
directing them.
So there you go, about 7 years, right?
Yeah.
How does that neighborhood look compared to the way it did in 1991 as a result of these yearly visits?
Well, it's a big difference. You can go into the neighborhood and talk to people. This week even, I've just gotten back from a couple weeks away, and residents are calling me saying, "Come out and look at my home." You know,
Oh,
see
really?
what the job that they've done on my home. I haven't been out there yet, but I've got to go out and
Yeah.
check on this home. But they're pleased with it. You know.
This was after this last
Yeah, that's
activity.
right. Mm-hmm.
Well, now, that was on what date that you did that?
April 18 and 19 was our big spring event this year.
Okay. But then don't you have another event later in the year?
We have a fall event that we've got tentatively scheduled for October 17 and 18 this fall. Our spring event is usually our bigger event, and then our fall event is not quite as big, although there's always the possibility that it could grow.
I mean, you're kind of moving in the direction of having more than just once a year then.
Right, we are definitely a twice-a-year event now. We started out, we were just once a year, but the need is so great. We have the volunteers that are willing to give up their time, and so we've decided to move to a twice-a-year event.
Was this the largest number of people to turn out for an event this year that you've had?
It's the largest one since I've been involved. I believe there was one event where we had 1,700 people involved, but that was a few years ago.
And what was it this year?
1,200.
Yeah, well, even that, my word. I mean, that's a lot of church folks out there.
That's a lot of folks.
Hammering and wonder if I didn't know how to put a lock on. You know, you said they put locks on maybe homes that were not secure. I wouldn't have the foggiest notion how to do that, so I shouldn't volunteer. Is that what you're saying?
Oh, no, not at all. What we have are we have different levels. We assess the homes and we give them different levels, with level 1 being the quote-unquote easiest level, although it's all hard work. And level 1 is painting, weatherization, and we go all the way to level 4, where you, in essence, adopt a house, where it needs so much work it takes more than just the one weekend.
Oh, I see.
And so we need people with all skill levels. And I know from personal experience that working in an office, to go out on a weekend and hammer a nail or hang a door or put some sheetrock up, that there's the feeling of really accomplishment that I've done something that's so outside of what I would normally do.
Yeah.
That on the personal level is a very beneficial thing for me.
It's gratifying. The other thing is that you can improve upon your skills. Now that the program has been established and has been around for more than 10 years, we do have a certain level of skills that are available in the volunteers that we have. So a new group who would be interested in being involved in a house could collaborate with a team that is more experienced and gain those skills.
I see.
Could I also say we use?
Could you also hold it just for a moment?
Okay.
We're about to have to bail out here for
Okay.
a mid-program break. But what's the topic that you're going to touch on?
ACC campus and the Riverside campus, and what we have been doing as far as setting up classes to do.
We're going to come back to that. Don't forget that, anybody.
Okay.
We'll be right back with this edition of Austin Faith Dialogue on Hands on Housing. Stay with us. Welcome back to Austin Faith Dialogue, where today our focus is upon Hands on Housing, which is a project and a program of Austin Metropolitan Ministries. We've been talking in the first half to folks that we're going to be talking to in the second half. This is Beth Stewart, who is, and I'm going to get this right this time, Beth, you are none other than the hands-on housing caregivers.
Right.
How's that? And John Schutzeberg, who is the chair of the Hands-On Housing. And also we have Tony Hall from the city of the Austin Police Department, APD, Neighborhood Liaison. Right at the before the break, you were saying something about ACC.
Yeah, I wanted to share with you one other aspect that we've used to bring people in to work on houses. Those folks that felt that they need some more skills as far as doing some carpentry work or plumbing or fixing toilets, that's always a common problem in some of the homes. Well, ACC with this, some of their instructors have had classes for us to go out and learn how to do that. So that's been an ongoing thing, and I'm sure we'll probably do that again, where we can build up some of the skills of these people that want to go into the neighborhoods and help out.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, people who don't know how to put a lock on a door can go to ACC and learn about that.
We have one of the director of the construction trades, Warren Heatwell, has volunteered his time, and he responds to the needs that we have. And so if we have a group that's interested in roofing, they'll talk about roofing, or some of the simple electrical work, or plumbing. As Tony said, plumbing is a very common problem. And then along with plumbing, then you usually need to replace some floors. Because if the toilets leak, then the floors then become rotten.
Right. We're getting pretty graphic here, aren't we? I mean, I can just see all of this. The world is falling apart, except that Hands-On Housing is coming in to save the day.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Okay, John. Let's talk about money, John.
Money.
Well, yeah. I mean, how does all this paid for?
Well, money is always the big word. What you have is a volunteer program, and we're glad it's a volunteer program. It's by the people, members of Austin Metropolitan Ministries. And these are there are 133 member organizations of Austin Metropolitan Ministries. Right. Now, one of the funding sources, of course, is that they pay membership dues. And so those monies do support the program like Hands-On Housing. Yet there's always more that we can do. And of course, we're always encouraged.
I mean, where do you get the money to pay for the materials? You got lumber, you got paint, you got all this stuff. How do you pay for that?
Well, we do have donations. There are wonderful businesses here in Austin who do donate or discount those goods. Also, I believe Travis County does donate some of the goods and the materials. We also have some funding that comes through the city, albeit those funds and those monies represent a smaller portion, although significant portion of what we do. Any money that we're able to receive for what we do is helpful. I think right now, if I were to say what our need is, as far as money, we have funded we have 2 paid positions. Beth is on staff as Hands-On Housing caregivers. We also have a VISTA volunteer, which is through the AmeriCorps program. Now, the AmeriCorps program, the contract that we have right now, if I can be so graphic and specific, is running out.
Okay.
And so, I believe in August.
Okay. It ended mid-year. Okay.
Yeah, we lose 1 of 2 staff members, and this is such a substantial effort that it does take a full-time staffed position. So we have been soliciting private donors. There has been, in fact, a great contributor. I don't know if I can. That person knows who they are, and I'm sure they'll see this show. Private donorship usually is probably the most is a great resource for us because of the limited staffing that we do have. Grant funding through, say, the city or the county, there's a lot of stipulations or
Oh, I see. Conditions.
conditions tied to
right.
to that money.
But now, Beth, what's your total budget?
The total budget for hands-on housing is $56,000.
$56,000.
Right. And that
Project-
includes the staff person.
Okay.
Right.
$56,000 will result in your having rehabbed, how many homes did you say?
We rehabilitated 50 homes this spring, and then we typically rehabilitate 15 to 20 in the fall. So we're
Yeah.
looking at up to 75 homes.
Okay. Well, one of the things that we have pointed out is that the city does make some contribution.
Right.
Yeah.
And what is that? How does that
Well,
fit into it?
in some of the funds, the NSP funds, Neighborhood Support Program funds, and then of course I'm there to assist and help get into the communities and work on identifying homes and working with, the rapport with the community.
So actually, the city is contributing through you, through your services. And do they help with materials or this sort of thing?
No, no, not with materials. And NSP monies, there's monies used for some materials, but it's not a big portion.
I
Most
see.
of the money comes from the various churches, and they take on the projects themselves and pay for the
Right.
supplies themselves.
And that probably is, we can't leave out that part of the quotient, which is you have the volunteer organizations raising the money to rehab these homes. They actually pay a site fee when they sponsor a home. So they're a most important part of making hands-on housing possible.
Okay, okay. Well, I think that people know how to lend their support through Austin Metropolitan Ministries then. We've got this number. I think we're going to put it up again. It's our 472-7627 number, right?
Right.
We say that every week because that's AMM's, the sponsoring body's number that we refer to, and specifically for this now. How are you a caregiver? I mean, why does it say hands-on housing caregivers?
I came on board on November 1st of last year to look at expanding the services that we can provide to the homeowners.
Okay,
I came on board through a Robert Wood Johnson Foundation grant,
all right.
and so that's how I get my support. And we feel like since we're coming into these people's homes, that we're in a position where we can assess if there's other needs that they have.
Oh, I see.
We can hook them up with, maybe they could use Meals on Wheels, or even things like Adult Protective Services. We've got connections with a company that will come out and do some pest control. I've worked with the county on getting rid of bees in the old hollowed out tree. And so because we're already in relationship with the homeowners, we're looking at expanding the services that we can provide to the
see.
homeowners.
Okay. Well, now, has it worked?
We're working on it.
Yeah.
We're off to a good start.
Yeah. I'd like to also find out about the relation between hands-on housing and Habitat for Humanity and other housing improvement. John, you look interested. You look ready to answer that. Go ahead and do that, please.
I would say that Habitat for Humanity, of course, is very visible, and anytime you say the words hands-on housing, there's sometimes has been an association with Habitat for
Sure.
Humanity. Of course,
Right.
two very wonderful housing rehabilitation programs. So let me backtrack there and state the difference, which would be that hands-on housing rehabilitates homes in the Austin community. It is a program of the Austin community.
It doesn't go outside the Austin community.
I would say now we're actually expanding to the metropolitan area.
metropolitan area,
We
okay.
did go into Pflugerville this last project. Habitat for Humanity is different in that they build homes from the ground up.
Right, okay.
So that's somewhat different housing ministry that they do.
It's a nationwide and a worldwide organization.
Correct. And it's also not really although there are faith groups that are involved in that program, it's not necessarily a faith-based program.
Right.
And of course, we are, why I was so jumpy, I guess, is because we are looking to collaborate perhaps with Habitat for Humanity. I think there are wonderful things that we both do. We do something that is a little unique from the other, and I am excited in the ways that housing ministry, at least from the perspective of the faith community, puts, well, feet to our faith, allows us to practice some of what we learn and believe in.
I wonder if we can get a shot on your shirt here.
You bet.
But I mean, all of you are wearing the same T-shirt, and you were so far away that I don't think people can see it. But there we go, hands-on housing, see? And if you see anybody walking around town with that, that means do they get this T-shirt when they helped out?
They have to. They probably have to donate a little more time than that. But
okay.
we do have T-shirts. There are some really. We do have T-shirts floating around, and I guess I don't know what you have to be to get one of these T-shirts or one of these embroidered
Next time we have the
shirts.
program, you'll tell us then.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, also, what I wanted to say, John was talking about with Habitat and ourselves, the concentrated effort. I think Hands on Housing has made an effort to stay in certain neighborhoods to make an impact, to make it look.
Oh, I see.
And then
Yeah.
the same thing with Habitat for Humanities. If they're going in a certain area, I think we're thinking about working with them in that area.
I see.
To
Okay.
make a difference.
Coordinate the efforts that way.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, as far as the city goes, you've got city employees that help out in this. I mean, it's on a volunteer basis.
Right.
I remember seeing a list of people from different groups. Nations Bank had some folks there.
Comerica Bank.
Yeah. Who else?
We had 61 different organizations, and we had the Girl Scouts, Troop
Yeah.
317 this year. We had Blackshill Elementary School participating, East Side Story, and we had Barsana Dham, which is the Hindu temple out in southwest Austin. And are you looking for the businesses
Well,
or
in the
churches?
businesses.
My church,
Yeah,
Olivet Baptist
Olivet
Church.
Your
Baptist
church, huh?
Church.
Okay, well,
Simpson United Methodist Church.
Yeah, a large way in which the businesses, I would say, get involved is sponsorship and donors. They donate supplies and goods, although Motorola was involved also this last event in volunteering for a home.
And we had our luncheon this year, we had most of the food donated for that. And so that was local restaurants that donated.
okay. I mean, lots of people pitching in.
Oh, yes.
And you know, you folks have pitched in tonight by being here. You have done us all a favor by sharing this information, and we look forward to knowing more about hands-on housing in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you, Beth.
Thank you for having me.
John. Tony, thank you folks for joining us. We'll be back next week on Austin Faith Dialogue. I'm Richard Thompson, and peace be with you.